Future of comics, things we're seeing. We're just weeks out of New York Comic Con. It's funny because New York Comic Con used to be my reset for the year. I would have gotten lazy at certain points. Life. I was working a full time at one point. I was going to the gym like it was a job, and I was creating comics at the same time. And it was a lot. It was a lot at one time, but I did it. And then I got seriously hurt at work, and I I've had more time and more pain, but more time doesn't always equate doing things great. I've created a lot of stuff, and I found traction on Facebook for a while. 2020 was pretty big, and cons were pretty good for me. Most of the bigger ones were always lucrative. The smaller ones were a waste of money, and I wound up losing a lot of money because of comic cons not doing the right thing for the people going as creators in Artist Alley. And there is someone on this app, and I'm sorry I don't remember their name off the top of my head, who has put it out in the universe that we don't really need us as creators. Might not actually need. I don't know. I can't open the Adobe. We don't need, well, creators not don't need, but the Comic Cons don't need us to have an Artist Alley, which is kind of sad to hear. Something's updating. That's why I'm having an issue. Okay, we'll let it update. But I do have to fix a few things on the new site. For those who don't know, Your New Comics, like every other site, same ending. WW, and then, of course, the period and the com. So I've built that. I do want to talk to people about comic books and the act of creating comics. I've invited some people from Facebook. You guys can join me over on YouTube. Let's have a discussion. I don't want this to just be about me and my creations. So please join me if you guys want to have questions, thoughts, concerns about this. I want to hear them today. So I am even going to be adding probably more PDFs. The one thing I'm looking for is I got permission to put out comic book schools. So I just can't find it right now. I swear to you, I have it downloaded, but I can't actually find it. I might even have to go on one of my other older computers because we did panel one and wait. I might have just found it. Panel one. I did. I finally found it. So pretty cool. Most of the things I'm doing right now have been deliberately geared towards making them accessible to people. And if you wonder why I'm trying to look around, it is because I have the YouTube open right here. And this camera happens to be right in the way of most of my screen at the moment. And my old eyes are failing me at the moment. I can't read as well from as far back pushed as I am. So bring up your comments, ask me questions about comics. First, let's start at the very basics so we can have a conversation about this. What do you guys think about the current comic book landscape, Comic Cons in particular? A lot of you have gone, I'm sure, to Comic Cons this past year, and I have heard, just as an observer, that it's been pretty bad. It has not been the best of times at Comic Cons. I heard a lot of people have disliked the Comic Con experience this year. I heard they removed the red carpets. I heard they're no longer talking as much about the experience. It has become very much more of a business, a flea market, like a Walmart of comic book goods that you walk into without all of the hoopla that Walmart sometimes brings with it. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about that. And let's talk about comic books. Let's get into it. For me, Comic Cons have gotten just too expensive as an independent creator to justify the cost of going to a comic book convention. The tables are $350, $400. And just to give you perspective on that, and I know everything gets more expensive, but this is on the side of ridiculousness now. When I first started doing Comic Cons 2017, I could get a table at MegaCon for $150. That was it, just 150. 150 is not too bad. Fast forward it to right now, MegaCon is now giving that same Artist Alley table. Nothing has changed but 7 years. I believe they're pricing it at $500 right now. I can look it up real quick while we're online. So bear with me 1 second, and I'll actually tell you how much MegaCon Artist Alley table is. Right now. This is me looking it up. All right. $549. Comes with 2 passes. It's now Fan Expo. It's a 6x5, and it comes with a skirted table, meaning that they're going to give you a skirt around the table. You might still want to bring a tablecloth if you want it to look a little different. Comes with 2 chairs and exhibitor pass. It is very tight, and the Artist Alleys are no longer about, like I'm looking at it right now, and it's trinkets. MegaCon has become more of a flea market than an Artist Alley. Now, if you want to see a good Artist Alley, San Diego Comic-Con, we'll go over to Baltimore Comic-Con. What we're going to do here is we're going to invite our friends from Facebook to also be part of this conversation, and we'll be on 3 platforms at once. How cool would that be? All right. So let's go live here. Changes to the comic book industry. So we're going to check to see where my larger audience is too. Here on TikTok, we've had a whole bunch of people coming and going. We're not making the comments. You guys get active. Be part of this. So yeah, the Comic-Con table right now, $550. So I'm going to take some notes while we're doing this. So we're going to go over MegaCon. MegaCon is a 4-day show. Hold on, I want to make this bigger so my older eyes can see this. So MegaCon is now charging $450. And then we're going to go over the fan cost as well. So MegaCon, $450. That's a 4-day show. For most people, that means 4 days at a hotel. Though MegaCon usually does an earlier day. So I always suggest people to drive in the morning of. But now what these shows are doing are literally forcing you to set up the day before. They're trying to get you to come in the day before. And that really stinks if they're forcing you to come the day before. So assuming you can get away with the 3-day hotel, and assuming you're going to walk from your hotel and not pay parking. So 3 days at a hotel in Orlando, going on the cheap. If you can get a cheap thing, you're going to spend $200 on hotel. Food, you're going to spend about $200 per person, because that's 3 days and you're eating out. Now, I will go on the cheap and let's call it $100, because you're at a hotel, you're at this stuff, so you're having McDonald's 2 meals a day, 3 meals a day, $10 a meal. So you're talking $30 McDonald's. I mean, maybe less. No, 30. I think 30's comfortable. So 30 with coffee and all that. So 30. So we'll call it $90. So just this, hotels, not even counting gas to drive there, not counting anything else, we're at $740. That is for you showing up. Now, a fan pass, let's look at this, MegaCon 4-day pass. And we're going to talk about some other things in a minute. So let's see. We're going to look at the tickets right now. And I'm using MegaCon not to pick on MegaCon. MegaCon up until this last year would have been my favorite. Just a 4-day advanced price is $139 right now. So just to go to MegaCon from a fan point of view is $139. Now they're not talking to you about parking. Now single day tickets are different price. Thursday's 28, 45 Friday, 64 Saturday, 54 Sunday. To be honest with you, the Sunday should be cheaper than the Friday. The Friday is usually more expensive. They do have a family pass, which will allow you single day admission for 2 adults and up to 4 children. That would be $61 for Thursday, which is double the price easily. Your better deal is the Friday pass, honestly. Yeah, because Saturday it's just the same pass. Now you're getting the kids in for free, of course. And it has to be children 6 to 12. So my son is getting to the point where he would actually cost me a little more. And then youth single day passes, 13 to 17-year-olds are a little cheaper single day, but we're talking $5 differences. So as a consumer, if you get the pass, you're going to get the best thing. That's $30 a day for you as a pass. If you get a 4-day, a little over 30. It's going to be $159 though in the future. So this is only an early one. And then you get a child pass. This is anyone 6 to 12, $15. I will give them complete credit for that. And the child pass is available for all days. It's only $15. So credit to them. We're not here again to beat them up. I'm not trying to beat them up. One of the bigger things that has become a huge problem, the VIP, by the way, to their credit, is already sold out. So their VIP, which was $600, has already sold out. So as a consumer, you're going to have to pay $30 a day for parking. We're figuring that the daily that's $30 a day would be $120. I don't think they charge you Thursday. Thursday, last time I was there, they were charging less. I don't know if there are parking passes. But this is also common where you're going to put your car. And that the car, I'm assuming that the car is stuck at the hotel for those who got the hotels. And that's if you're not paying for the parking. A lot of people want to stay at the fancier hotels when they're down there. So as just a person, a human being, not counting gas, just when you're in Orlando, because everyone's gas costs are different. We are now talking about $740 for a creator to attend a show. When we're looking at a fan, you're looking at $139 for a 4-day pass. You're looking at $259 with parking, give or take. And then, but as a fan, you're not necessarily stuck there. So you're going to pay for food, but you're probably not staying at a hotel. I'm assuming that usually MegaCon does draw people, don't get me wrong, but there are a lot of local people. So we're just doing this on the local that you could go home. So I would assume per person, you're probably going to spend about $20. And yeah, it's a little bit more because you're not looking at the finances. So you're talking about $80 to $100 in food, $359 we're going to put at a low estimate to attend them. This is what you're going to spend. And I've gone to shows as a fan. I've gone to many MegaCons as a fan. And again, if you guys want to join the conversation, ask questions, please do. I encourage you. You can come on the show, ask me anything about comic books. We're just talking about the changing pricing and everything. Now, here's the thing I want to really kind of clue you into. Believe it or not, hotels have not gone up that much. You're paying maybe $10 or $20 extra a day, and that's 7-year period. $20 difference on hotels, maybe. Some of the times it's not any different. It's actually year to year the same. If you're especially going for the cheaper economy hotels, they, believe it or not, have gotten a little cheaper. I don't understand that, but it has happened. They're just a little cheaper than when I first started 7 years ago. So maybe a $20 difference, right? Food, you're definitely paying more for food than we were. So I did this 2016. 17 was the first year I actually went as a fan in 2016. So hotels were a little different. Sometimes there's even an argument about if you're in Florida driving back and forth, sometimes it's not as bad as it sounds to Orlando, depending on where you are in Florida, because Orlando is pretty dead center. So here we are, $20 extra. So you're paying $450 in a difference of $300. And we found out, no, 540. I'm sorry. That was my guess, 450. So $540 for a table right now, a 4-day table. 200 for the hotel, so you're at 740, 90 for the eating. You're at 800 and let's see, 740 and 90, that's 830. $830 to be a comic book creator. You know what hasn't gone up drastically? What the consumer expects us to charge for a comic book. So now a consumer expects us to charge about $5 per comic book. So we're going to do some quick math. Amazon, 830 divided by $5. Amazon, 830 divided by 5.
830 divided by 5 is 166.
You have to sell 166 comics just to cover your costs. Now, I want you to understand that's great. It's possible. It's doable. You know what you don't get back just to cover those costs? And this does not include gas right now. This does not include repurchasing the comic books. So now, Echo, 166 times 250. Amazon, 166 times 250.
I didn't get that.
Amazon,
166 times what?
250.
166 times 250 is 41,500.
So 41,500. Now, of course, we don't have the decimal point in place for that. So it's $415. That's how much those books would cost you to reprint potentially as a single unit. And that makes sense. 166 books is around $415 that you're giving away. Now, you might do what I used to do when I was on the road. I used to write these off as, hey, that's what the Kickstarter is for, right? Because you also have to kind of establish your goal. Is your goal making money? Are you there to make money exclusively? Is that why you're being a creator at a Comic-Con, or are you trying to build a business? So now the Kickstarter, hopefully you've taken advantage of, and you might throw those comics away, just want the table and the exposure. And that is a valid thing. I did that for many years when they were more affordable, but they're just not. So as a percentage, I want you to understand, 7 years ago, I was charging $7. Now, $7 is an argumentative thing, especially at a MegaCon, how expensive it is. So $7 per book, that does change it. So now on 166 units, Echo, 166 times 2. Amazon, 166 times 2.
166 times 2 is 332.
So $332. So that can actually help us make back. And this is the math behind it. We have a consumer base that wants us to charge. So I'm gonna shorthand this for you right now. We have a consumer base that wants us to keep our comic books at $5. Let's say we convince them to go for $7, which is, oh my God, $7. There are a lot of people who are going to walk away from your table. So you're going to sell less, but make more per sale. Okay. So we're still losing in this current math by $83. We're going to have to pay $83 out of pocket if we used all the money for the sales just to make the money back. How crazy is that? So when you're talking to creators and why they're not going to Comic-Cons, that's why. And a lot of people are saying that Comic-Cons don't even need to have artist alleys anymore, which is taking the comics out of it. But I guess argumentatively, you're going to have the bigger publishers and you're going to have people show up. But 166 books is the goal. And at 166 books, at $7 a piece, you're not covering all of your costs, and you're certainly not covering gas. Now, if you take the hotel out, that's a big change. Like if you can crash at a friend's house, or if you even share a hotel with someone, and you're suddenly only paying 100 for 3 days, there's some places to save money. But it is nearly impossible now for a person selling a single comic for $5 or even $7 to make that table. I have been around enough and I know people lie. There are people who do great jobs. Their name is blanking on me, and they have the Ninja Samurai. Oh my God, and they're a friend, and I've eaten with them. And I'm so sorry I can't remember their name, but they do an amazing job. Now let's shift. Let's shift our logic here. So Comic Cons are now mostly impossible for smaller creators, and I hate calling it smaller creators. We're gonna go creator owned instead, because it's kind of nasty when we sort of do that. So we're going to call them creator owned. It's very hard for creator owned to be part of a conversation when everyone is struggling. Now, you guys can absolutely ask me questions. I can see that there's a bunch of you coming in and out. This is going to be a long format video for our YouTube. So, as a matter of fact, I'm going to share that YouTube now on Facebook, because we're not getting anyone with the Facebook Live. So we're going to turn Facebook Live off. And we're going to switch over to look at this, to promote this as it should be, just a YouTube video. Sorry. So we're going to head off of the live. I'm not surprised Facebook Live isn't drawing people. And that was an experiment. And a lot of this is about experimenting with how to reach the audience. And they just delete your videos. You can no longer keep your Facebook videos. So I won't be investing in a lot. Let me see. So again, the reason I called this Meet the Creators and Fans wasn't just because we're on a Sunday, and today is often. Okay, so they didn't even my. I guess when we were recording, there was an issue, so they didn't even put up our video on Facebook. So this is part of the frustration that we are often seeing and dealing with. It's crazy. So I guess someone just left their Facebook group. Oh, that's a shame. That people, I mean, when I see people quit, and I do understand why people quit a lot of this stuff, because doing a lot of this stuff, it doesn't really come with it, but it's about connecting with all of you, because clearly Comic Cons can't be the way. Now, I don't want this to feel like a doom and gloom session, so I do want to stress that right now we are in a very good place where we're seeing a lot of uptick in online activity when it comes to comic books. Now, online is not your friend as a creator. It is going to beat you up because you're not buying ads. Social media, and having been around for a minute now on social media, I can tell you Facebook used to be a wonderful time. It used to be a great thing to be part of. It is no longer a good place for us to just get immediate attraction and seen. You're going to have to build. You're going to have to be in there. And as someone who just watched, see, in 2020, we sat around and we made videos for everyone to feel less scared about what was going on. And we all thought we were doing great stuff. And look, I'm not even connected to some of the people that I was working with back in the day. But I still think that the videos we did are something I'm proud of, even if I don't particularly like the flavor of people at this time, and I think that they became unethical. What we did at the time really did help people feel less alone. And Facebook just deleted all that. It just, nope, we don't want it anymore. Too much storage. So they deleted it. Now, to be clear, they let everyone know that they could download it. I chose not to download the old stuff. So what am I going to do with it? Put it on Facebook if I want, put it on YouTube. If I want it on YouTube, I would have put it on YouTube originally. So we lost. I personally lost, honestly, easily. I'm not even kidding. But remember, I'd been doing that for about, I started as soon when Facebook Live went live, I went live. Amazon, when was the first Facebook Live?
According to an Alexa Answers contributor. According to Wikipedia, Facebook was launched on February 4, 2004. At the time it launched,
Sometimes I have to realize I can't trust Amazon. Started 2004 was when Facebook started, but when did Facebook Live start? It's not even answering here. I'm going to have to put in the feature. I'm telling you, since they added the AI, the Google searches are dumber. According to this, August 15th, but it was for celebrities at first. It was 2016 in January. So just about 10 years ago, I went live on Facebook Live and started doing comic book stuff immediately. And you had 9 years of me doing Facebook Lives thrown away. And I think they're personally going to discontinue it. So creators are in a bad place right now. The live shopping feature was discontinued. They're just Facebook's walking away from the live, and it's a lot. I understand that. It is a lot of energy to put into something. As I should put my site back up here so we put it more centered. So now we're left with the very ideas. Do we need a website? Is this something that is needed anymore as a creator? And TikTok Live, some people are doing great on, honestly. Danny J. Quick, amazing creator on here, does Ace Blade, Fishly. And there are some other people really finding that method. For me, who creates a little bit out of the ballpark, it's not as easy. And I don't know. I honestly have struggled to find the magic behind the TikTok shop. I don't know. I don't know why. I just don't connect well with it. And it's not for the consumer base. My problem has been TikTok doesn't like the videos I do. Now, one of the things I can share with you is that TikTok wants us talking about the books and not showing stale pictures anymore of anything, which is funny because you can share photos on TikTok, but if you share photos and tag the shop, they hate that. So what they want us to do is basically have a book in our hand and be talking about the book. They're supposedly going to be getting rid of CapCut stuff being pushed, but I don't see that either, because I see a lot of people honestly coming out and sharing comic books that have been written page by page, telling the story. And don't get me wrong, I love those videos, and they're getting thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of views. So people are getting behind it, but it's weird for one person is allowed and another person's not. And it gets dicey and it gets weird, and we don't particularly understand what's going on. You have to almost find ways to defy the rules. And I have not done a very good job, and I put that on myself. And ending this program today, I'll say this, and I'm going to put myself up on the bigger screen now. I have always struggled with self-promotion. I can't really tell you why. Fully, I've struggled. I'm just a dude, and if you could see this in YouTube right now, I'm just sitting in a living room. We do have a more built-out studio in my bedroom, but I wanted a kind of different feel for this, and just to kind of shoot the shit as it is. We have to come here and we have to engage with all of you, and we're dying to engage with all of you, and it's not easy anymore. Sometimes we put energy and effort into videos, and we're doing the best we can, and we don't have the budget. A lot of us don't have time to sit and make one video, and that's what it is. If we made one video that was high quality for it to fail. and not get it. And there's some people who it just, for whatever reason, because I follow a lot of people, and I can say this as a consumer, not just about myself, but there are great people who deserve thousands upon thousands of views that won't get it. And they grind and they grind, and they do get a base, and I'm very proud of that. And then there are people who just hit, and there is no answer. And everyone will tell you that sometimes it takes years. I've been on social media 10 years. Now, I did really good on Facebook, so Facebook changed the format and basically made it impossible for my content to live on there when it came to the kinkier stuff and even the other stuff. And maybe it's me, maybe I'm in my own way. So I want to have conversations like this from creators, but it almost feels like unless we're talking about something that's popular, people aren't engaging on social media, that they have social media fatigue. Hell, I had it. I walked away from Facebook for almost a year. I have spent since 2022, I've kind of just still created in the background, but I always struggle with how to find a voice for promotion. So I don't want the promotion to become annoying. And it's consistency. It is talking to empty rooms. It is building it up slowly. It is having these conversations. It is trying to get these channels to catch fire. And I've had my channels days where we didn't get less than 500 views a day, and we only had 500 views per video, and we only had about 5,000 followers at the point. And then I've come to a place where I've got more. It feels like we are very much currently being punished for being an individual. I know that sounds weird. I know it sounds counterproductive, but it does feel that way. And it's not just me. I listen to other creators and stuff. Facebook, we were always more popular than we were on TikTok. And some of that you have to own as yourself. Clearly, I'm not connecting with fans the way I want to. And maybe it's the t-shirts I wear. Maybe it's my hair not being done right. Maybe it's, I don't know. To be honest, I don't, because when I first started going live on Facebook Live, it wasn't very hard. People found me. We have had videos that had tens of thousands of views live. And then we've had videos like right now on YouTube. I don't think we've had a single person show up. So it's not as easy anymore to just get people on. So I see one of my friends. I'll invite some people on. Let me see. There are a few people who are live. Maybe we'll get some points of view. I would love to hear from fans too. I only try to invite people I really know so I don't have bigger issues. But I do. I want to have the bigger conversations with people. I want to see what people have. Now we're getting to the hour mark, and the hour mark's more important on TikTok just because of you can't upload more than an hour long video, which I think is crazy. I remember when TikTok was 15 seconds. It was 15 seconds, it was 1 minute, or it was 3 minutes. And now it's 1, 3, or 10. And I like the longer format. And I really should start trying to invite more people on. I think the bigger problem I have right now with trying to invite people on this is we've had some bad people. So I'm going to try and invite. Let's see if I can't get some people on the conversation. One of the things you guys should know is that we're going to add some more free content to our sites. So we're going to be having more free comics over on our site. I kind of messed that up. Sorry. And I'll be doing that today. So we'll see if anyone comes on live with us. Maybe they want to talk about comics. This will be uploaded. If I can't get anyone live, that's fine. It's just, here's the truth about comics. If you want to get out there, and I'm proud to say this, and if you want to be on the show today, you want to talk, you want to ask questions, hit that guest button, and let's end the show with your thoughts, your concerns. And if we have to go over an hour, so be it. We'll have the YouTube that we could always point to. And the YouTube, and you have to be diversified. That's the one thing that I'm noticing more and more right now, is that it's back to having to be as many platforms as you possibly can be. And it's just getting traction. When I first started on a different channel here, I was told it was going to be damn near impossible to do what I wanted to do. I suddenly stopped being the comic book advocate and decided to become the kink educator, and left the comic book sphere behind. It was at a very toxic moment. And for me, I just didn't have the energy I did. And I wanted to represent something I did. So I got to work, and I built a very good network. So on that. Hello from Fort Wayne, Indiana. How you doing, Danny? Danny, what are you a fan of, Danny? Like comic book wise, what is your fandom leaning towards right now? And see if I have any of my other friends on here. We're going to invite some people to be part of the conversation. See if anyone's around. I'm seeing it. I should have done this earlier, actually. And I'm inviting through this. I should have done this. Just look for the people who are live and invited my friends. I know it is Sunday early, but I figured people might be around. So I sent out 8. I'm not really a comic type, but I am a Ghostbuster impersonator. Okay, you're perfect, actually. So could I pick your brain? Let me ask permission first. Can I pick your brain about how you see Comic Cons right now? Because there is a huge shift in the way Comic Cons are, how they're being supported, and who's supporting them. Would you like to come on the show as a guest? Do you have a problem being on camera? I ask that because normally I'm the kink educator here on TikTok as well. And it's harder for people to be on the show. There's nothing we're going to talk about with that today. This is just one of the banners I have. If we turn this backwards, there's actually, and should actually maybe do that. Think about turning this backwards. So give me a second and I'll show you. It's upside down though currently. So I've got to actually, how would I have this? Might actually need a different methodology to get this up. But I'll show you guys the original banner. Let me see. So this is how this banner was. Believe it or not, that is of my son. So maybe I can get this to stay. Hold on. I think I know how I can make that work. 1 second, everybody. Let me see if I have one thing to clamp, it'll work very quickly. And I know I've got the clamp somewhere here. Bear with me. It's always when I'm live, I can't find these things. So I got a bunch of banners, and I just haven't gone to cons lately. So I'd love to hear more opinions on cons. I guess I could do that for now. Oops. And then just kind of get something to hold that. So I think that's how we'll do it. So we're going to do the really advanced technique of a paperclip. So that's what we'll do right now. We'll move this for anyone who wants to be a guest on the show, not to have the barber thing. Actually, I might be able to. There we go. As you can see, high-tech tape is keeping this together. So That's the life of an independent creator. And we used to put this way high up in the rafters, but I actually used a different bar. I use this because I bounce into this, believe it or not, at home, because I leave this up a lot of times, and sometimes my kid will bounce into it. So the poles I'd normally use for this will poke your eyes. It'll shoot your eye out. For those who know the reference, you know the reference. So bend it over itself and just attach it. Same thing. And then it's just about a balancing act. As flimsy as that tape is, if you can hit it just perfectly, we're perfectly fine. And there we go. It bothers me that it's a little off, but we're gonna have to make do today. I'm actually getting ready for work right now, but maybe later I could. Follow me, send me a message, and I would love to sit down and talk to you. Harvey, they're going towards big corporations and forcing out the merchants. Absolutely. And if any of you want to jump on live right now, jump on live. And let's talk about how Comic-Cons have been changing. I would love to have that bigger conversation right now. And Danny, we'll definitely sit down and talk Comic-Con soon. I think that's a great idea. Because I would love to hear from different point of views, because as a comic book creator, it is a much different world. Someone's trying to come on with us. We have Harvey. Let's accept Harvey. Hello, Harvey.
Hi. So I'm not the expert, but my brother was. He passed in 2018, but he started going to them in the late 80s, in the early 80s. Saw movie posters.
Okay.
He had access to the movie posters, the original. And so it started off, just small comic book guys, and then with the retailers, the merchants started going there and making it interesting, because you could go. So I would help him out. He would call me up and ask me to help him. So once in a while, I would help him. I'm in construction, but I would help him. And so, but what I guess, so it went to these real nerdy. I have to say, they were kind of on a bit of a sleazebag kind of. My brother was very honest, but a lot of them were not. And what I did notice that it got cleaned up a lot and got more kind of like Disney. Mm-hmm. And like much more honest people were involved, or probably are getting involved. And I noticed as I would go around and talk to different people, and people were like, "Well, I'm an engineer for Philips, and I just do this on my spare time. But when I retire, I'm going to do this full time." And they were selling different stuff, and it made it interesting. But the corporations offered so much more money for the tables that they were just giving out less and less tables to the merchants. That's what I noticed.
I agree with you on that. You're right. And they're and that's why I'm so curious to hear from people still going and still doing it. Because I've been hearing that this year has been brutal, honestly. There was the famous really bad Book Talk convention that went horribly wrong. I believe it was GalaxyCon got raked over the hot coals. A few people got guests like Kevin Spacey that really upset people, and other people who had problematic past. Some of them I didn't know that they were voice actors from anime that I guess they had brought back. But it feels like, to what you're saying, and tell me if this sounds about right, the kind of soul of Comic-Cons have gone away. Like Times Square is the perfect analogy I can make. Times Square used to be kind of,
Exactly. I'm from New York, so it used to be like the movie Taxi Driver. Went from the movie Taxi Driver to Disneyland,
Mm-hmm.
Corporate. I mean, I understand they bring in a lot of more money and bring in a lot of tourism, but it's, it was kind of fun, the old system. But
so you're from New York, you'll understand this. Remember St. Mark's Place?
Oh yeah.
So that used to be the place. Like if you were alternative at all, you went there. And in the last 10 years, they had cleaned it up. I can tell you because I was back in New York just late. I think early this year I was in New York the last time because I live in Florida now. It's going grungy again. It's getting dirty again, and that's kind of what New York goes through, these waves. And I think we saw that with Comic Cons. I think we had a wave of Comic Cons that were like you said, they were a little dirty, right? They were a little sketchy. Some of it was like, you know.
I had a name for him. Instead of I would go up to my brother's friends. He knew all the comic book guys, all the older guys, you know. And I would go, they shouldn't name it Comic Con. It should be like, I can't do anything else for the rest for a living, so I sell these oddball conventions.
That's kind of how conventions were. I had talked about that with people. I think like a week ago, I was like, you don't understand, man. Like you would go to a Comic-Con, you think you'd need a tetanus shot after. Like it was just different, but it was more artistic, more very much in the vein of, hey, this is just people trying to make dreams come true. These are people who used to work at Marvel and DC. This is people who collected stuff and don't really have an avenue to sell it. And nowadays it is much more about how we can sell Disney IPs, how we can sell DC and all that. And because there's this almost star effort mentality, like I have to see this star. And I don't even know, like in the 60s, I don't think people got so crazy unless you were the Beatles. But like, and I love Scott Snyder. This is not a dig on Scott Snyder. Scott Snyder is an amazing creator. But Scott Snyder will create a line. And this is credit to Scott Snyder. So I was at one of the shows, I believe it was MegaCon, and he had a huge line. And that line was getting in front of people's tables. Scott Snyder said, hold on, and got his people to move the line away from everyone's table and actually had it wrap around his table. And I've seen other creators do that too. Chris Claremont has asked people not to block other tables. And that's like old school. That's like the love of comics versus a lot of people who now, they take like the 3D printers at home and make stuff and then tell them it's Marvel and DC, and it's not. It's their version of it that they took from a Chinese company that now makes 3D printing. And it almost feels disingenuous to the audience now. And I think a lot of hardcore fans are staying home. Would you agree with that?
Well, what I noticed, like, the last Comic Con I did, I helped my brother at the New York Comic Con in 2017. And that was too busy. But he did the Hartford, and I'd walk around when we weren't busy. And they were selling wands, you know, from what do you call it, the magic wands. And,
Harry Potter.
Yeah, Harry Potter, hand carved and different things like that. It was very interesting, and that you know, all that different stuff that people were selling, I thought was very interesting and added a lot to the Comic Con. I mean, I don't know. You know, it's like I don't know. It's whatever people like. You know, are less people going because it's gotten really commercial? I mean, in the middle, so Disney and these big corporations were taking over the middle areas, and you know, because they're giving millions for the table, whatever, and. I guess it was interesting, but I would walk through that in a second or two. But then when you go to the other tables and find all the different things that people are selling, I found that much more interesting. And you could see people just loved walking around and looking at everybody doing the cosplay and stuff like that. And I haven't been to one in a while, so I can't tell you. I don't know. I guess something is lost, but I mean, the money is just. I mean, 175,000 people bring in a lot of money.
Oh yeah,
they want their hand on that.
Small economy for a weekend, for sure. I want to thank you for being on. I have to get going at the moment because we're about to run out of the hour here on TikTok. But stick around for future videos, and I'd love to hear the perspective because I used to go to the cons. I remember New York Comic Con when New York Comic Con actually first started. It didn't even take up the whole Javits Center, believe it or not. So there is a change. We're going to continue these conversations. We're going to continue to make these videos. I hope that you guys can have conversations. If you ever want to do a live with me and talk about something, I'm happy to do that. I'm more than eager. We'll try to do like a 30-minute sit down and we'll talk about comics together. How's that sound? I'll see you all soon. And stay geeky, my friends. We've made it to step 3 on our journey. I have no idea what that was, but I love interacting with you all. I'm going to head out right now because I do have something to take care of. Thank you all for tuning in. And for those who watch this afterwards, please continue the conversation in the comments section below. And check out my new site, which we're going to put up here. I didn't actually get to talk about it as much as I would have wanted to, but that's okay. This is the site as it is. There is a partition that is just for me. Go to this site, yournewcomics.com, and then /Mr. Anderson. Or you guys can just, if you didn't see me typing that because I didn't see it on screen, you can just go down here to me, and this is actually my side of it. Very exciting. Some changes to be made in the next few minutes. It's just loading. So a lot of great stuff. It's web and internet browser friendly. All right, guys. So check it out. Your New Comics /Mr. Anderson. I appreciate you all. Leave the comments and I'll get back to you and maybe we'll sit down and talk about comics real soon together.